Welcome to The Sarah Scoop Show. It's time to get the scoop with Sarah.
My name is Gregg Daniel. I'm an actor and a director. Last season, I've been very fortunate enough to work on a new ABC For Life, starring Nicholas Pinnock. I also did Netflix's I Am Not Okay With This, which is a wonderful show. And finally, I'm back on Insecure. I have a recurring role on Insecure, the HBO series, Lisa Ray. So the last year for me has been quite busy and quite wonderful artistically and creatively. For Life is just it's just so fulfilling to be able to work on that show. Obviously, 50 Cent Jackson started it. One of the producers on it, Nicholas Pinnock, is the lead, and it's based on the real life story of Isaac Bright Jr., who was unjustly incarcerated. And while he was incarcerated, he became a lawyer and worked to help win the release of other prisoners incarcerated as well. And finally, he won his own release and became a professional lawyer. But it's just an amazingly fulfilling story to be able to be a part of. I also play a prisoner that has been given life for a crime I did not commit. I've served 22 years. And Nicholas Pinnock, who plays the role of Aaron Wallace in the show, comes to me, my cell, and wants to take on my case. He wants to try and get it reopened based on some evidence. And of course, initially, I'm just like, no, I'm pretty beaten down by that time. After 22 years unjustly incarcerated, I'm pretty beaten down. But there's something about his character that I say yes. And so begins this journey of winning a new hearing, much less my release, but winning a new hearing for me based on the case. Prison reform. I'm becoming aware. I mean, there are those people of a lower socioeconomic nature, Black and brown people, who don't have probably the means and don't get the top lawyers and are just treated unfairly, unequal in the American criminal justice system. I mean, the rate of incarceration in America vis-a-vis other countries and other nations is unbelievable. So just to shed light on prison reform, and prison reform also means when someone is released, how do you integrate them back into society? How do they get jobs? How do they get housing? How do they get, so they can begin to stabilize their life again. So it's not just those who are unjustly accused and receive harsh sentences, but it's also how do we as a nation begin to reform our prisons? So we're also taking care of those individuals who get out, who are released back in society, so that they become an aid to society, not a menace to society again. The recidivism rate in terms of going back into prison, well, if you don't have a job, if you don't have a place to stay, if you don't have any opportunities, you're going to wind up right back in there again. And we incarcerate more people in the United States than any other industrial nation. So to shed light on that, and also to realize that you could be an activist. Activism is just not getting up and shouting about it, but also voting. I mean, when you participate in voting, knowing who your representatives are. Most people don't know who their local congressperson is, who represents them in the Senate. I mean, who are these people? But yet one of the most sacred rights we have is being able to vote. So find the candidates aligned with your vision of what you like our American society to be, and vote them in, particularly with the next election we have coming up, the next, shall I say, presidential election that we have coming up. It's so important that you find those candidates that align with your vision of what America is, what America could be, and vote. I don't understand and to some degree I understand that, well, if I vote, whoever I vote for, they're all going to be crooked, they're all going to get in there and just be for themselves, which is so defeatist. But you have a power. You can vote them out of office and vote those people in who represent your community's best interests. So if anything, I hope the show For Life sheds light on prison reform, those unjustly incarcerated it's two different prison systems. And for those who have affluence or means, and for those who don't, it's two different societies that we have. And it shouldn't be. I have a manager I've been with for a while now, knows the kind of roles I like. So some things we pass on, but when this came along and he sent me the scenes to audition with, I just knew the writing was outstanding. There was something so remarkably balanced and intelligent and compelling about the writing. You just get a feeling sometimes. Some roles you go out and you do, or you go out and audition for because, hey, it's fun. But then there are some that go, wow, this has so complex. It has so many levels to it. This character who's been incarcerated for 22 years and has given up any hope, any promise of getting out, And now for someone to say, come back, you can still be a human being. So right off the bat, I knew this is something I wanted to do. So I auditioned by tape. Actually, I auditioned by tape. They're in New York. I happen to be in California as I go back and forth sometime, but I was in Los Angeles. So I auditioned by tape. And even the audition, there was something about that. There was a quality in the audition. You can feel it as an actor. There was a quality of that I felt in terms of the connection. I'm really good about that. So that was a yes all around. And then I was fortunate enough after a few weeks to learn that I had been cast in the role. But that was magic because I really wanted to do this one. I really did. I'm just fortunate enough that I was the one they chose, and I had a great time. Nicholas Pinnock Jr., I can't say enough about him, the lead who plays Aaron Wallace. He's really about let's find the truth of the scene. Let's dig. Let's work together. We'd go off on the side and run lines, and it was again a step above. He also sees the specialness in the project. I'm sure that's why he took it. And so wanting to service the scene, wanting to service the values within the scene was something we were committed to. So without saying, we'd run it, we go through it, and then when you are shooting, he's so present, he's so there that we just trusted each other. And as a result, I think it was exemplary work. I have to say, I think it was exemplary work only because we both brought so much passion to it and so much commitment to the roles. Very briefly, because he sort of flies in and flies out. He flies in. He had to, during my episode, I think he had to come in and shoot a couple of things. But you know, his tour, his routine is a whirlwind. He comes in, he has to shoot, and then he has to pretty much get out. But I did meet him briefly. Great guy. You know, I just think I'm so proud of him for even producing the show. So I had no scenes with him, unfortunately. So it was really just a casual hello, and then he was off. I think they had to get him back. They had to get him out to get him back to Los Angeles, but. The show is doing well. It seems that it has such a chord in people. You know, I think Americans, this might be a broad statement, we still believe in fairness. We still believe in our heart that everyone should be giving a fair chance at something, that if you're willing to put in the work and the commitment and the passion, then you too should have access to things. It shouldn't be based on nepotism or who you did know or the amount in your bank account. Justice and fairness is based on, well, if you're willing to work, and if the playing field is level, you should also be able to achieve. I'd like to think just the basis of but that's not right. He was unjustly incarcerated, but that's not fair. Everyone should be giving a fair hearing before the law. So I like to believe that we as a society, a democratic society, still believe that in fairness, that everyone should get a fair shake. And I hope that's the chord it touches in people who watch the show. Well, I was a little boy who grew up in Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn. I claim those roots. And my father was an immigrant. He was from the Caribbean island. And his island was a colony of the British for the longest time. And I say that because we had in our home when I was young, lots of things that I say were British influence. For instance, we had a volume of Shakespeare's works, and I would pick it up from time to time and look at these speeches, had no idea what they meant, no idea. But there was something about the poetry, something about the rhythm of the language even then. So I guess it's fair to say I was introduced to acting through language. Something about the language. Of course, the language of Shakespeare, you can't get much better than that. So I would just say the speeches. I had no idea what they meant, but there was something about the rhythm that I connected to, the musicality of it. Then when I finally saw a professional production with actors doing a Shakespearean work, or I think it was Restoration Moliere work, I knew that's what I had to do. When I saw the mise en scène, the costumes, the lights, the sound, the sets, there was just something that seemed so noble. And I use that word deliberately. Something that seems so noble about this practice of being able to take characters and make them your own, and an audience sits there and they're moved by what you do, whether it's to laugh, cry, whatever, that you move them under these artificial circumstances. You can actually move people's hearts. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I could play that on this, and people actually believe it, and people actually will invest in the story. So once that happened, again, through language was my in. I knew that's what I wanted to do after that. I mean, it's remarkable, again, that people will buy into characters and buy into a story, that we are basically storytellers, that people will buy into it and just give their hearts over to it. And just really, as if it was their own family or their own situation, mother, brother, that they own the situation. I think that's magical. And I think that's what's amazing about the craft of acting, that you could do that. You could create in a performance an affinity, some sort of connection with your audience, that they are with you every step of the way and literally are going through what that character is going through. That's pretty darn special, if you ask me. And to make a living by it, that's pretty darn special. I'm very lucky. It was fun, the skits and everything. Well, I'm very lucky that I can do, whether sitcoms or comedy or sketch shows or a series, 1 hour episodics. I mean, very lucky that I've had a career that I could encompass them all. So I haven't had to stay in one genre because I only know how to do that. I can do pretty much anything. If I'm giving a script and giving rehearsal, I can pretty much do everything. So it's fun to look back sometimes and see the shows. I remember, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago or more, I did like 3 or 4 Disney shows back to back. I just did. And my daughter, who knew I was an actor, I think she really got that I was successful after I got those Disney shows. Suddenly, oh, Dad, yeah. It was those appearances as a guest star on those Disney shows that made her think, yeah, my dad's cool, he's an actor. But yeah, when I look back over my career and some of the roles I've been able to access, it's because I have enough versatility to be able to feel comfortable to play them all. And so, and any actor wants that, the ability to go from one genre to another genre to another genre. It's important. So I've been very blessed in being able to have those opportunities. There's a lot of favorites, I have to say in all fairness, but one of the favorites was True Blood. I was a series regular on True Blood. I started out as a guest star, then a recurring guest star, and then I finally wound up being a series regular. And that was, wow, how imaginative. I don't know if you guys remember HBO, Alan Ball started, who wrote 6 Feet Under. It's about vampires, basically about vampires in this town, Bontonk, Louisiana. Vampires, Maynards, ghosts, werewolves. We had it all in the show. I played a minister. And there was something special about the imagination of that show, because basically it was still trying to bridge a gap between the two worlds of humans and non-humans, and how do we live together? Because that's basically what we were looking for. How do you accommodate these two sides? And working on that was, again, the writer's imagination. Alan Ball was brilliant. He's a brilliant writer. And then the cast we had was just Anna Paquin, and we just had a remarkable cast. So that was a really outstanding project, because the writers after a while began giving me material that challenged me. It wasn't just pro forma material, but they knew what I could do. And it was just delightful to read episode to episode and see what they had me doing, what they had me saying, and giving me some leeway. So that was, I'd say, True Blood was outstanding. True Blood was an outstanding experience for me. And working with HBO, they treated us so well, and they supported the show so much that having that support from the network, it was shot like a feature. I mean, the time that we take to do the one episode, the kind of equipment we were using, this is just not a television show. This is like a feature. So I congratulate HBO, and they've gone on to continue to have, I'd say, quite a winning streak of shows, and I can see why. Again, their imagination, what they invested in, also the love and the attention they give those shows. It's no coincidence that they're such a successful network. I would run into fans that knew more about the show and the history of those characters than I did, and I was always quite amused and amazed. They would tell me things, and I'm thinking, I didn't know that. Connections between characters and storylines, and I didn't know that. They were so invested in the show and the stories of these people. And look, these stories were, superhuman people. And like I said, vampires and witches and all kinds of supernatural creatures, but people were still owning it like was their own. So that was a very, very fun experience for me. Very, very positive experience for me. Yes, I am. I direct shows there. USC School of Dramatic Arts. I work there, and they're very, 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 very kind to me, because they know I have to go off sometime. There are times I might get a show in New York, Vancouver, wherever, and I have to stop and go off. And they're very, very, I think what makes that school very special, I'll give a plug out, fight on, fight on, fight on. That's USC's slogan. Part of what makes it special is they do hire professionals. A good number of the faculty there are working professionals, whether they're designers or actors or directors, they're professionals. So when we interact with our students, we're giving them like the real deal, the first-hand experience. Like I'll come just from an audition, go into class, and I can tell them, what the audition was like, why it worked, why it didn't work, what it was like, first-hand knowledge. Plus, just seeing these young aspiring actors work as hard as they do. They want to get it. They're ardent, they're passionate. And I always tell them at the end of a semester, I think I've gotten more from you than you guys have gotten from me. And that's the magic of sort of teaching, to see someone come into their own power as a craftsperson, as an actor. And that's why I do it. It's just remarkable to see someone beginning to own their craft and acquire the craft and own the craft. And it really comes back to you, what you've got to give, what you got to open up and share and show people. So yeah, I'm very, very pleased to be there at School of Dramatic Arts. Fight on. I've been lucky that I've directed a number of August Wilson's works, the two-time Pulitzer Prize winner, who wrote Fences and 10 other plays. You know, he did a series of 10 plays called the Pittsburgh Cycle, the Century Cycle, 10 plays documenting Black life in America, decade by decade. Directed about 3 of them. I'm slated to direct another one later this year here in Los Angeles. And being in that world of August Wilson, the poet, the playwright, it's magical. Such a powerful, he's one of America's finest playwrights. I'd have to say August Wilson is. So anytime I get to do one of, I haven't gone through all 10 yet. I think I'm on number 3 or number 4, but boy, I would love to go. I would love to be able to say I went through all 10 of directing August Wilson's work on stage. And of course, Denzel Washington turned into a very popular movie, Fences, which started out as, again, the play by August Wilson, and turned into a very, very well done, successful movie with him and Viola Davis. So anytime I get to work on August Wilson material, that's really affirming for me. Doing that performance was a mighty performance there. That was a fine, fine feature. And it's not often that you get feature films based on a play that work. It's been tried many, many times, or even sometimes novels. And then you turn it into a feature film and something about it doesn't work. But this one, I have to say, worked like a charm, every aspect of it. So I take my hat off to Denzel Washington and Viola Davis, and I hope I can continue to direct August Wilson plays until I get through all 10 and then start over again, because by that time I would have learned a lot and direct them again. Every actor is so special that I kind of want to work with them all. I mean, Jeffrey Wright is someone I really admire. This guy's really good, and then I got to see him, of course, on a stage a few times. But he's an actor I would love to work with, because he brings such passion, such expertise to the work as well. And he's always working. Now he's on Westwood, but he's somebody I would love to work with. So there are many actors because of what they do, but certainly I would say outstanding actors that I would like to work with. Viola Davis, sure. Who wouldn't want to work with Viola Davis? I mean, my God, could that woman bring any more to it when she does a scene or whatever? She's a force of nature. She's a force of nature. So anytime I would have a chance to, I never did her show, How to Get Away with Murder. And I know it's ending now. I'm sort of sorry that I just never had an opportunity to do her show. So, but again, just as professional in every sense of the word, I would love to work with her. Hopefully I will get a chance to work with her. I hope. Yeah, learn how to act. Learn how to act, really. And when I say learn how to act, learn the craft. It's a craft. I mean, there are days you're going to feel awful. Days you'll feel great, and everything will be similar. And then there are days you'll feel awful, but you still have to give a credible performance. So learn what it's like a dancer or a violinist or whatever. You don't go on stage if you don't know the notes and how to read and how to tune the instrument, or dancers how to dance and tie your ballet point shoes, so know what the fundamentals are. Know what the foundation is, and then you can do anything. And the trick is, the more you can do, the more hired you'll become. As I said on my resume, because I've done all sorts of genres, it's because I know the craft of acting. It's just suiting it to whatever that project is. It's just tailoring the knowledge I have to whatever that project. I'm a high school principal. I'm whatever. I'm a criminal. I'm a convict who's been in 22 years. Learn how to act. Really learn the craft of acting. That way, anything that comes your way, you can take on. Because you got to bring your A game. There's a lot of terrific actors and actresses out here. Oh my God, in Los Angeles. So more than you could ever think, more than we need. So what's the difference between you getting the role and somebody else? Well, you know, you got to bring in not only your imagination, but the craft to it as well. So really learn how to act. Because the pool out here that you'll be auditioning, not against, because if it's yours, it's yours. The pool of people you'll be auditioning with, it's a mighty pool of people who are very, very good. So you're right. You'll go into a room and see 10 people who any one of you can do the role. Any one of you can do the role. But what makes the difference? Well, let's get in there and see who has maybe a little bit more craft, a little bit more knowledge about what they're doing. Yeah. So I say, give yourself an advantage, learn the craft. And even when you're doing it, you can learn. You can still go to classes, even when you're working professionally. I know many professional actors who just still take class or still work out. So it never really stops. Gaining the knowledge never really stops. But for God's sake, learn what you're doing. Just don't pick up a play or whatever and think, oh, I can do this. This reminds me of. No, you'll learn very quickly. You probably won't stand a chance. You probably won't stand a chance. They'll go through hellfire. Seriously, they'll go through hellfire. I mean, the ones that I see who really want it, they will avail themselves of every possibility to learn what they're doing. And it's great to see that kind of passion, because I had that kind of passion when I was trying to learn the craft of acting myself. I mean, anything that would inform me, whether it was features, stage, television, anyone I could hear speak about it, where I could go, I went. And I was a perpetual student. And it was a wonderful state to be in, because I was absorbing all this information, all this data. I was absorbing and translating it through me to see how I could be the best I could be, because it's different for any one person. So yeah, you can see it. You can see if someone has that kind of fire in the belly, that kind of focus to do it. You can see it. Absolutely. Now, nothing's shooting right now. There's nothing shooting right now, because obviously we're in the COVID-19 crisis, so nothing's shooting. If anything, the most important thing, I just have to get on my soapbox and say, practice social distancing, folks. We really are all in this together. At some point, we will get back to whatever the new normal will be, but it's so important for us to take care of each other No, this is an unprecedented time. This will go down in the annals of history during this time. And I think it's important for anyone who has a platform to say, practice social distancing, stay at home, whatever the phases become in terms of opening up the city again, take it very, very slowly. We do have to watch out for each other. So right now, again, everything's sort of on a lockdown situation. Hollywood's not producing, or we're just trying to find out how can we come back and be safe. And I'd rather us take the time to learn how to be safe when we get back on the set again and people are on top of each other, and we're at craft service again, we're eating together, we're shooting in front of a camera, we're in small rooms. I mean, the industry is thinking about how do we make that safe for cast, crew, staff? How do we make it safe? So yeah, I can't wait to get going on some things. I just want to make sure, everyone wants to make sure that when we do resume production again, and we will, at some point we will, but let's do it safely so everyone's lives are taken into account and their health and well-being is taken into account. So that's important. That's very important for everyone. We wrapped For Life in January. I wrapped my show in January, just in time, because February things began to, and then by March, forget about it. Again, we will come back at some point, but I know there's a lot of discussions going on among studios and film places about when can we start again, but how can we start safely? It may take years to get back, if we ever get back to where we were before. It really will. Not to be a naysayer, but it may take years. But in the meantime, we can find inroads and ways, but we've got to take care of each other. We've got to make sure everyone's taking care of it first. So, but I'm chomping at the bit too. I must say, I love being on a set. I love working. So this has given me some terrific time at home with my family, though. I have to say that. We've been sitting down to dinner every night, which was unheard of in my home because everyone's off. My wife's an actress as well. My daughter's in college. So we're always off doing something. So the fact that we had this family time has been really a blessing. It's been a blessing. But at some point, yeah, I want to get back to work as well. I do.
Thank you for watching The Sarah Scoop Show. Head to sarahscoop.com for more.